On Tuesday, President Trump signed a package of spending bills to end the partial government shutdown that started this weekend. The battle played out in Congress over one of the bills that funds DHS, the Department of Homeland Security. But lawmakers aren't out of the woods completely because the agreement reached only funds the department through next Friday. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent Ben Hulack is with us now to talk through what was agreed to and what comes next. Ben, good to see you. Tell us, we know Democrats demanded a lot of reforms for DHS. They wanted all of that in this spending bill. What was agreed to?
Well, this is punting. This is Congress doing what it does pretty darn well, which is punt a problem down the road. So the end of that road is, as you pointed out, the end of next week. It basically, from now until next Friday, Congress is going to be feverishly deciding what to do to fund and to set the rules and guidelines of how DHS operates. So as we've talked about before for viewers, the agency broadly is funded for years and years. It got a big chunk of money under this federal law from last summer. But what Democrats in particular are zeroing in on now is how to reform the agency. Chuck Schumer, the top Democrat in the Senate, and Hakeem Jeffries, the top Democrat in the House, today spoke with reporters and laid out their plan. They said, we're going to have a bicameral, meaning House and Senate, bill within the next day. And their broad demands are immigration agents should not be allowed in sensitive places. So that means schools, places of worship, polling places, critically. Masks have to come off, body cameras have to go on and have to be worn and have to actually be shooting useful footage. And the public should be able to sue. Those are the three broad demands. Now,
are they also asking for judicial warrants?
They are correct. That's another big demand. They're asking for judicial warrants. That falls in the category really of oversight. And most of these are non-starters with Republicans. This is especially the speaker here in the House. He has said masks can stay on, and he has rejected the idea of judicial warrants. Judicial warrants are warrants that a judge has agreed to. So
let me ask you this, Ben, because we know, as you said, that the funding goes through, I think, the end of 2029, right, through the president's term. They're asking for these reforms in terms of how ICE operates. Given the fact that those funds are already appropriated, can they see these reforms put into place immediately if some deal is reached, which we don't know if it will be?
We don't know if it will be, and it seems like there's a pretty narrow path to reach that deal now. But yes, there could be actually stricter reforms that are implemented across DHS and across immigration enforcement. Money is one thing, but policy enforcement is another. And federal agencies, like state agencies, operate on these sort of dual tracks. There's a money track, how much of the budget is coming and going, where is it being used? And then there's a policy track, which is how does this thing operate? So yes, there could actually be real serious changes if Congress can reach a deal, which, as I said, seems really like an uphill battle at this point. I should point out, though, that Republicans who hold both chambers of Congress, hold majorities in both chambers, they need Democratic votes in the Senate to get anything done. And Chuck Schumer came out today and said, what's happening in the streets is reminiscent of dictatorship. And they are entrenched. They are dug in at this point, Democrats, really across the board, against DHS continuing as it has.
Are there any Republicans who have signaled that they could be on board with some of these reforms? We know that we have seen bipartisan concern over some of the activity that played out in Minneapolis. Has that translated into any members of Congress saying, yeah, I'd be on board with these reforms?
Not that we can see yet. I would note, after Alex Preddy, the former ICU nurse in Minnesota, was shot and killed by immigration agents, Jeff Van Drew, who represents the South Jersey seat, he initially had been very critical of Preddy, and not necessarily Preddy, but of protesters broadly against ICE, saying these are organized folks entering the streets and sort of gumming up the works. He then sort of softened his tone and said, people have rights to protest and rights to demonstrate, which was him really, I would say, walking back, or at least softening, modifying his stance. But the big action is going to be next week. What can the House pass? What can the Senate pass? That's when people will really be watching Congress closely on this.
We saw Senator Lindsey Graham have this kind of big, bold speech standing next to the president and a group of legislators before he signed the bill. He said that the federal government needs to force states to end sanctuary cities. There are a number of cities here in New Jersey that have said that they've signed executive orders saying that they will protect immigrants in various places. What do you think New Jersey could face from the federal government in terms of this effort to force that change?
It's really a symbolic statement to be a sanctuary city. There is no firm, uniform definition, I should say. Cities, municipalities, counties reach their own definitions. I think it's sort of a shot across the bow, reminiscent of how the Trump administration has gone after critics and left-leaning jurisdictions overall. If we think back to November, DOJ federally sent polling agents effectively to watch electoral polling sites during the November election. That might not have been actually anything nefarious. I wrote a lot about that in the fall, but it was a chilling effect, certainly. This folks are worried, Democrats are worried now that something could play out in the 2026 midterms this fall. And at a national scale, the president this week has been talking about how he wants to nationalize U.S. elections.
Yeah.
Now, that is not possible. That is not how our system works. But there is worry that especially ICE and CBP agents could be sent to polling places to scare away would-be voters.
Well, great insight. Appreciate you following this for us in Washington, D.C. Ben Hulack, thanks again.
Indeed.